Who has the best clam cake? You always see a line outside of Iggy's, you always see a line outside of Aunt Carrie's. They're in close proximity.
Clam cakes, that's what put Iggy's on the map.
Here at Aunt Carrie's restaurant, we have, original clam cakes.
But everybody has their own rival clam cake or chowder or place they like. I want to capture everyone now.
It's amazing how many people still have no idea what a clam cake is.
A clam cake is an indigenous fried delicacy in Rhode Island. No two clam cakes are alike, even within the same batch.
There's nothing better than putting the gloves on and mixing the clams in the batter and then frying them all up and sticking them in the chowder and eating them.
You can't find this anywhere else.
There is nothing truly like a clam cake. It's our thing.
So clam cakes really are the quintessential Rhode Island comfort food. They're seasonal. You go down to the beach, you get a dozen clam cakes, you take them to your beach spot. I eat a lot of clam cakes. It's not so much a hobby, but a vocation. About 8 years ago, Joe and I decided that what if we took a day and what if we just visited a whole bunch of clam shacks in one day and ate a clam cake at each one, maybe rate it? Last year there was an article featuring us in Rhode Island Monthly. That's how a lot of people found us. We're the Clamerati.
I guess.
The ideal clam cake is one that is amoebically shaped, crispy on the outside, but cooked enough on the inside. It has nice tan chunks of local clam in it, maybe a little seasoning, and it's gotta have nubbins.
I think you need to have at least 2 to 3 pieces of clam in your clam plate for it to be an official clam cake.
So here is what we like to call the Battle of Point Judith, where we have Iggy's Doughboys and we have Aunt Carrie's across the street.
When you open our clam cakes, they're going to be white. There are going to be some clams in there. Texture should be fairly soft inside.
What makes a clam cake special is it's simple. It's a New England item, it's a comfort food, and believe it or not, they go great on hot, humid days. You would think people ain't gonna eat chowder. They eat more chowder when it's hot and humid than they do in the winter.
I'm Elsie Foy, the owner of Aunt Carrie's restaurant.
My name's David Gravino. I'm president and CEO of Iggy's Doughboys and Chowder House, Inc.
My friends up the road from us, they just have a different crowd than we do. So, everybody finds their favorite place.
I'm always striving to get busier and to be the best. Are they doing the same thing? I don't know.
So I went to Iggy's, Joe went to Aunt Carrie's. It's still family run. And really, the establishment hasn't changed. You go in and you know what to expect. It's gonna have the yellow decor inside. You're gonna have the picnic tables in the parking lot.
This is our 100th year. Aunt Carrie's mainly is a seafood restaurant. Seafood is our specialty. Clam cakes and chowder, for sure. We do fried clams, whole clams and strip clams. This was my first job when I was 16 years old. And that's how I met my husband. I'm the mother of the 4th generation from Aunt Carrie's. So Aunt Carrie and her husband Ulysses lived in Connecticut, and they would just come down. Back then, you could just stop along the side of the road and walk into the beaches very, very easily. There was always a lot of fishermen around. They started selling soft drinks out of the trunk of their car. And then eventually they bought a piece of property and they built a little tiny shack and started selling from there. Because she knew how to make corn fritters and probably Johnny cakes, she started making clam cakes. People would smell them, want to know what they were. And eventually her husband said, we have a business here.
As far as at the clam shacks, obviously the staple items is clam cakes and chowder. One of our other staple items is the doughboys, and that's how we started, which is fried piece of dough. It's about the size of your palm. Ours are soft and fluffy. Toss them with sugar, powdered sugar, cinnamon and sugar. The original location here in Oakland Beach, we've been open since 1989. I started working when I was 13 years old in this little clam shack.
And as you can see Oakland Beach, you can still see the little shack that was here in the 50s. So the soda and ticket booth for this roller coaster is Iggy's. This is where the Chowder House sits right here.
We leased this little clam shack and doughboy stand, and we needed a name. So as kids, my dad's license plate was IG6, and we'd always call him Ig as kids. He hated the name. Hey, Ig, how you doing? He'd call me Dad. And when we took over the place, we needed a name, so I said we should call it Iggy's. And here we are 33 years later. So when we first started the place, it was just doughboys, clam cakes, and chowder. The red chowder is my mother's recipe. We still use that recipe today. We grew the menu from like 10 items to over 50. And over the 33 years, we've taken the little 400 square foot clam shack and turned it into this 3,000 square foot restaurant that's open year round. In between all that, I opened up Narragansett about 22 years ago. Narragansett, there's multiple restaurants. You'll have Aunt Carrie's. So I figured it would be another great way to launch my brand to another audience.
To make a clam battle, everything's made with fresh clams, our own flour mix, some seasoning, some rich clam juice, and a little bit of water. So we're gonna put the clams in. We're gonna put the flour in.
Our clam cakes is a family recipe. We season it lightly with a little bit of salt and pepper.
Dave's been here for almost 20, how many years? 20? 22. Now the trick to this is mixing it, but not over mixing it. You wanna fold the clams in, but you don't wanna over mix it. If you over mix it, it's gonna be heavy. But we want it to set. Like I said, it has to rest for 15, 20 minutes before you fry it. See, this one's been resting for about 20 minutes.
And then we fry it in oil, and they're delicious. They're so popular that we sell the clam cake mix in over 200 markets all over the Northeast. I made my first clam cake when I was probably 13. I remember the guys showing me how to do it, telling me, you gotta scoop right so you don't burn yourself. Of course, I burned myself. I didn't make them nice and round, so they were a little deformed looking until I had the good technique for it. But, clam cakes, that's what put Iggy's on the map between clam cakes and doughboys, and you can weigh out which one put us on the map more. That's open for discussion. On a normal day, we could sell anywhere from 800 to 1,000 dozen of just clam cakes.
Here at Aunt Carrie's restaurant, most of our recipes have stayed pretty true. They've changed over the years a little bit. As much as people say there's no clams in our clam cakes, we've actually added many more clams than they used to be. We've actually doubled the amount of clams from the original recipe that's in there. To master making clam cakes takes a while. It definitely is a talent. My staff is all high school and college kids. So getting that batter, that's how they start. They have to keep making batter after batter after batter. We tell them it's about this much flour. It's about this much water. But once you start mixing that, you're not mixing it in a little bowl anymore. You're mixing it in a huge kettle now. It's flour and our secret ingredients. We're not giving out those secrets. I can tell if it's a good batter. If it's too wet, it's gonna splatter and we're all gonna get burnt. If it's too dry, it's too sticky, I can't get my spoon out of there.
And take it over here. So you want to get a pot like this and fill this one. It's to portion how much you drop.
So our clam cakes aren't those perfect round ones. Many places use ice cream scoops. So they're exact same size and they're those nice round balls, which people like. But ours are all kind of funky little shapes and sizes because they're dropping them by hand very quickly. It's a rhythm to do it. Oil has to be at the perfect temperature. It's turning those clam cakes, kind of give you that little bit of crispy, and you get to taste your food. Because they're such weird little shapes, those little crispy pieces are great when you open it up, It doesn't have to be so hot that you're gonna burn yourself either. They can cool off and they're still going to be delicious.
Oh, wow.
Note the grease stains on the back.
So I'm gonna present Iggy's. This bag is not tearing as well. So they're very different in style.
Yep, you can see they are very different.
Different in size, in shape. So these are Iggy's, this is Aunt Carrie's. The next thing that we'll do is, I'll grab one. Let's start with Iggy's. And then usually we inspect it, and we were pretty thorough about our inspection, very up close.
Can you see those? These are clams, which is a good thing. Yeah. This is a pretty big clam nubbin. I would say that's also what's important, the clam to cake ratio.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this isn't a ton, but there's one over here. This one's a piece of clam.
Yeah, it's got a really good crispiness to it. There's some, decent clam chunks in here. We're looking for a crispy outside that is something you can bite into. It's not soft, it has some toothiness to it. And on the inside, we look at, is it cakey, is it doughy, is it bready? So that kind of tells us what they're using, what kind of ingredients they're using.
One big thing is, for me, it has to taste like the sea. And that's a real subjective thing. I don't know how you describe that.
This is Aunt Carrie's. I'm going for this guy.
Very nice. And you rip it open. Oh,
Oh my
wow.
God.
Big clam.
You look at your clam cake and you consider, like, just like a cloud, it reminds you of something, and yours reminds you of...
It reminds me, it's a face, but it's also, I'm sure, like Sardinia maybe. Or,
Mine, I think, looks like kind of like a ship, like a steamer ship with like a sail.
I mean, that could be
you
South
know.
America or Africa.
Yeah.
Right?
I just dig in. I
I
just...
just like to break it open.
Oh,
I like to break it up.
if I am. These are clam chunks. And I feel like Aunt Carrie's is more generous with their clam chunk size.
The amount of clams on the outside are incredible. I mean, you know it's a clam cake.
There are big clam chunks in here.
Much more clam flavor,
See,
much more crunchy.
it tastes like summer.
It's true.
Yeah.
We have generations of customers that come and say, I remember coming here with my parents. I remember coming here with my grandparents. We have this one big family that tries to come every year, but their family has gotten so big, we've had to kind of stop them.
Our customer base at the Shack is everyone. And it's a tradition. You're brought up on Iggy's and then, you know, you're bringing your kids here.
We want to be here. I enjoy being here. I'm not someone who just wants to sit at home and do nothing.
I think a lot about Rhode Island is you have to be there and experience it to understand it.
It's really not Connecticut. It's really not Massachusetts. And it's certainly not anything north of us. It's a little bit of those, but it's Rhode Island.